I stared at the bathroom sink in his apartment, her birth control blister pack sitting there like a trophy. That cheating snake told me I was paranoid. Said I was crazy. My hands shook from the humiliation burning through my veins. But this wasn't ending with a fight, it was ending with a reckoning. It started with a half-lit screen, buzzing at 2 a.m., throwing shadows across our bedroom. Madison's phone, flipped upside down, trembled again against the nightstand. I lay there in the dark, feeling every vibration like a drill into my spine. She told me I was paranoid, always overthinking things. I let it slide too many times. I should have trusted my gut. We live in Charleston, South Carolina, quaint, polished, old money charm masking the rot underneath. Madison fit in perfectly. Picture-perfect blonde, lawyer by title, socialite by nature. We shared a crisp, modern townhome near King Street, a few blocks from the water. From the outside, we were the poster couple. Inside, something festered. The contradictions bled through even then. Madison would host charity brunches, smiling like a debutante, then disappear for networking events that stretched into mornings. The way she brushed my questions aside with a kiss on the cheek, just light enough to dismiss, just cold enough to sting, should have been warning enough. It wasn't just about work. It was about power. About control. Her best friend, Sabrina, was the one who whispered doubts into my ear first. A concerned little nudge over coffee at Biddy and Beau's. Sabrina, with her twitchy hands and two bright eyes, happened to mention Madison's late nights getting more frequent. She knew something. I tucked that away. Sabrina wasn't a friend, she was an opportunist. If she smelled blood, she wasn't warning me out of kindness. The glow of the phone wasn't the first crack. It was the thud I heard when I came home early from a late shift at the docks. I manage a shipping crew, long hours, heavy work, enough to keep a man too tired to think too much. I wasn't supposed to be home at 7 p.m. I found a man's leather jacket slung over the back of a kitchen chair. A half-finished whiskey glass sweating on the counter. Madison called out from upstairs, "Babe." I answered with silence. By the time she came down, jacket and glass were gone. Like they had never been there. Like I had imagined it. "You okay?" "You look tired," she said, that snake voice curling around me. "Just need a shower," I muttered, my voice scraping past the stone in my throat. In the mirror, I watched myself not react. Training myself to wait. If I pushed, she'd twist it. Gaslight me, like she always did. The plan wasn't to rage. It was to observe. To trap. Madison's contradictions piled up faster after that. A hidden second phone charger appeared under her side of the bed. Lip glosses I'd never seen rolling out of her purse. A receipt in her wallet from a boutique hotel downtown, the Magnolia House. 2 champagne flutes listed on the receipt. Client drinks, she lied, flipping her hair back like the truth was too petty to bother with. Must be a big client, I said, letting the hook sink in. I started tracking small things. The scent of different cologne clinging to her when she stumbled in late. A fingerprint smudge too big for her small hands on the inside of her car windshield. The way she lingered in the bathroom with her phone, flushing twice before re-emerging with wide, blinking eyes. Her lover, I didn't know his name yet, was a ghost slipping through the edges of our life. Madison played the loving wife when she had to. Cooked dinners she never ate. Asked about my day with just enough effort to pass the bare minimum of decency. The cruelty wasn't in what she said. It was in what she withheld. One Saturday morning, I faked a work emergency and left. Circled back 20 minutes later. Parked 2 blocks down. Watched from a distance as a tall figure in a gray hoodie slipped into our house. Madison answered the door wearing nothing but a robe, pulling him inside like a drug she couldn't resist. I gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles bled white. But I didn't move. I watched. Clocked the time. Memorized the license plate of the black Audi parked halfway across the street. When he left 2 hours later, she kissed him in the open doorway. Brazen. Like she wanted the world to know. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't say a word. Instead, I started mapping out the edges of her lies. Building a case. Quiet. Patient. Because I knew, if I exploded too soon, she'd win. If I stayed silent, I'd own the endgame. And Madison Taft, liar, slut, snake, had no idea she was already checkmated. Days turned into weeks. I became a ghost in my own house, moving silently, watching from the corners. Madison preened and paraded, confident in her lies, spinning her little dramas at dinner parties, laughing a little too hard, drinking a little too much. The black Audi showed up again. Different times. Different days. Always when she thought I was safely tied up at work. I started keeping a log, dates, times, details. I wasn't building a confrontation. I was building a coffin. One night, she came home smelling of sandalwood and bourbon, 2 hours past the time she'd promised she'd be home. She dumped her heels by the door, breezed past me like I was a lamp, and disappeared into the bathroom. I heard the shower start, too hot, too long, as if she could wash him off her skin. The next morning, her phone slipped off the nightstand while she was getting ready. No lock screen. No password. She must have gotten sloppy. Or arrogant. A single text previewed itself before the screen dimmed. Last night was perfect. Still tastes like you. Nate. Nate. The ghost had a name now. I didn't open the phone. Didn't need to. That tiny preview was enough. Enough to know she wasn't even hiding it well anymore. Enough to know she thought I was too stupid, too weak, or too broken to notice. A few nights later, Sabrina called me. Not Madison, me. Can we talk? She asked, voice tight, urgent. We met at a crappy bar near the shipyards. Dark, loud, anonymous. Sabrina slid into the booth across from me, eyes darting, hands jittery. She wasn't there to warn me. She was there because she smelled blood and wanted her piece of the kill. She's been seeing him for months, she hissed. Maybe longer. Everybody knows, Mark. It's a joke. You're the joke. The words hit harder than a punch. I sat there, stone-faced, letting her spit her poison. She went on about secret weekends in Savannah, how Madison bragged about the things Nate bought her, a Tiffany bracelet, a spa weekend at the Grove. How they laughed at me behind my back. When Sabrina leaned in close, touched my hand, whispered, "You deserve better, Mark," I saw it, the real play. Sabrina didn't care about me. She wanted to be the one to pick over the carcass. I stood up, threw a 20 on the table, and left without a word. Let her choke on her intentions. At home, Madison was curled up on the couch, glass of wine in hand, trash TV blaring. She looked up, smiled lazily like nothing in the world could touch her. "How was your night?" she asked, like she was already daring me to lie, to play the same sick game she was. I met her eyes, flat and cold. Memorized the way her fake concern barely masked the boredom. She thought she was untouchable. "I'm tired," I said. "Long day." And I meant it. Tired of her. Tired of pretending. Tired of waiting. But I wasn't done yet. Because tired men don't burn everything down. They plan. They prepare. They strike. Madison's lies started fraying around the edges, little threads pulling free where she thought I wasn't looking. She got sloppy. Lazy. Like she believed her own bullshit. The first real slip was a Monday. I found her work laptop sitting open on the dining table, a half-written email glowing on the screen. "Hey babe, can't stop thinking about last night. Meet again this Friday. Same place. No name signed. No name addressed. Just the kind of raw familiarity that doesn't belong between co-workers." When she walked in, I was sipping coffee at the counter, watching her out of the corner of my eye. She froze when she saw the laptop, a heartbeat, maybe two, then plastered on that fake, breezy smile. "I'm working on a client proposal," she said, too quickly. "Boring stuff." I nodded, real slow, and took another sip of coffee. "You're good at making boring look exciting," I said. Her smile twitched, almost cracked, but she caught herself. Laughed it off. Walked over, closed the laptop with just a little too much force. Gaslight 101, control the narrative. Misdirect. Dismiss. I let it pass. The next fracture came from another angle. Logan, one of my crew guys, bumped into me at Jimbo's grill after a shift. Big dude, rough hands, loyal to a fault. "You still with that blonde?" he asked, chewing on a toothpick. "Yeah," I said. He scratched his chin, awkward. "Might not be my place, man, but saw her last Thursday. Down at the Harborside Inn." "Not with you." I kept my face still. "You sure?" He nodded, eyes guilty. "Tall guy. Dark hair. Fancy watch." She was real close to him, man. I thanked him, bought his next round, and walked out into the night air. It wasn't news. It was confirmation. Each lie she told was a brick in the wall she was building between us. And I was just letting her stack them higher, because soon she'd bury herself under them. Back at home, I started setting little traps. A hair-thin strip of Scotch tape across the edge of her jewelry drawer. A dab of clear nail polish on the seam of her briefcase. Silent witnesses, telling me when they were disturbed. Within days, every seal was broken. One night, I watched her standing in the kitchen, texting with a smile she didn't even bother to hide. She thought she was untouchable. That I was too dumb, too tired, too loyal to ever turn on her. She was wrong. Friday came. I told her I was picking up a double shift. Kissed her on the forehead before leaving. She barely mumbled goodbye, already tapping out some message on her phone. I didn't go to work. Instead, I tailed her. Her black Lexus slid out of our driveway and headed straight for Harborside Inn, again. She parked around the back. Wore a hoodie pulled up over her head like that could erase her from the world. I parked 2 lots away. Waited. 10 minutes later, a black Audi rolled up. Nate. They didn't even bother checking around. They slipped into the building together, laughing. By the time I eased my way into the lobby, they were gone. But I knew where they were headed. The Harborside had barely 20 rooms. I slipped a $50 bill to the desk clerk under the guise of looking for my brother, and got the room number, 214. Second floor. Corner room. Quiet. I didn't storm up there. I didn't rage. I didn't even flinch. Instead, I tucked a slim, wireless camera into the light fixture across the hall. One I'd prepped days ago. One that fed straight to my phone. Then I left. By the time I got home, my phone buzzed. Motion detected. I watched, sitting on the dark couch in our living room, as Madison opened the door in a towel, yanked Nate inside, and dropped the towel without a second thought. I watched until I couldn't feel anything anymore. Then I got up. Pulled out the manila folder from under the couch. The one already stuffed with screenshots, timestamps, receipts. Proof. Almost ready. Madison didn't know it yet, but she wasn't just cheating on me. She was erasing herself from everything she thought she owned. The next morning, she was humming in the kitchen. Barefoot, sipping coffee, wearing one of my old flannel shirts like she hadn't just spent the night getting railed by another man. Like she still had the right to touch my life, my clothes, my house. I sat at the table, flipping through the Charleston Gazette, acting like the night before didn't exist. Like the footage sitting on my phone wasn't a ticking bomb. "Anything interesting?" she asked, leaning over my shoulder, pressing herself against me. I caught a whiff of her perfume, something sweet, expensive, and freshly applied. Like a mask. "Same old," I said. "Corruption. Lies. You know how it is." She laughed, too loud, and walked away. I watched the sway of her hips, every step a reminder of what she thought she could get away with. Later that afternoon, she came into the living room, a little too careful, a little too sweet. "You've been distant lately," she said, curling up next to me on the couch. Her hand slid along my arm, nails tracing slow patterns. "Busy at work," I said. She pouted. Actually pouted. "Maybe we should take a trip. Just the two of us." Reset a little. The audacity. The pure, toxic boldness of it. Offering a vacation as a cover-up, a way to patch the bullet hole she blew through us. I smiled. "Sounds nice." Her eyes lit up, relief flashing across her face. She thought she still had me. Thought the right mix of fake affection and distraction could erase what she'd done. That night, after she fell asleep, fake, shallow breaths that never fooled me, I dug through her purse. No caution needed. She was too confident to hide anything anymore. Inside, wedged between a lipstick and a crumpled receipt, I found it. A box of birth control pills. Half empty. Madison and I hadn't touched each other in months. Not since the slow death began. I stared at it in the moonlight bleeding through our bedroom window, the truth cold and clinical in my hand. She wasn't just cheating. She was planning to keep cheating. She was protecting herself, for him. For Nate. I slipped the box back exactly where I found it. Careful. Precise. No anger. No confrontation. Just another nail in the coffin. By the end of the week, small things started changing. Madison grew twitchier. Her phone never left her hand. She smiled too much. Laughed too hard at nothing. She sensed it, somewhere deep under her skin, the shift. Maybe it was the way I watched her now. Not desperate. Not pleading. Just observing. Maybe it was the way I stopped asking questions. Stopped pretending to believe. She started pushing back harder. Picking fights over nothing. Criticizing everything. The way I dressed. The way I loaded the dishwasher. The way I breathed. It wasn't about me. It was about her own rising panic. Her subconscious screaming that something was slipping out of her control. She picked the wrong man to gaslight. I let her rant, let her slam doors, let her flail in her false righteous anger. Every time she exploded, I stayed silent. Every time she baited me, I refused the hook. Because I knew something she didn't. The more desperate she got, the messier she'd become. And Madison Taft, liar, slut, snake, was about to drown in the lies she thought she could swim through. I waited until she left one Sunday morning for her brunch with the girls. Same lie, different lipstick. The second the door clicked shut, I moved. Her laptop sat in the home office. I'd never touched it before. She made sure of that, passwords, encrypted drives, confidential client information she claimed couldn't be seen. Except this time, she slipped. Left it open. And I had installed keylogging software 2 weeks earlier. All I needed was 20 minutes. It gave me everything, passwords, email drafts, deleted messages she thought were gone forever. The first file I opened was an email thread. Subject, this Friday. Nate, can't wait to see you. Bring the black one. Winky face. Madison, already packed. Don't forget the wine. You still owe me for last weekend, winky face. Time stamps. Attachments. Photos. A full map of betrayal. She didn't even bother using code names. She thought she was untouchable, invincible, slippery enough to dodge any fallout. She wasn't. I dug deeper. Found a hidden folder under documents titled, Trip Ideas. Inside, dozens of screenshots, Savannah hotels, beach house rentals, cabin getaways. None of them for me. All for him. Receipts she never deleted. Uber rides from business dinners leading straight to Nate's high-rise condo across the Cooper River. Calendar invites marked, client event, that matched nights she stayed out until 2 a.m. There was no wiggle room left. No denial she could spin. No apology that could unwind it. She had built an entire parallel life while still wearing my ring. I printed everything. Every email. Every receipt. Every ride log. Created a thick, ugly dossier of betrayal. The folder felt heavy in my hands, like a loaded weapon. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. That wasn't the plan. The plan was silence. Precision. The plan was to let her build the gallows with her own bare hands. Over the next few days, I prepared. Opened a private account at a different bank. Rerouted my direct deposits. Changed the beneficiary on my life insurance. Consulted a lawyer downtown, a woman named Dana Whitlock, brutal and brilliant. She specialized in high-asset divorces and made it clear, when the hammer came down, it would be swift and public. I wanted Madison to lose more than me. I wanted her to lose the life she thought she had won. Dana drafted the papers with surgical detail, citing adultery, willful misconduct, emotional abandonment. Irrefutable, bulletproof. Meanwhile, I played my role perfectly at home. Still attentive. Still polite. Still the dutiful husband. Because Madison's real weakness wasn't her lies. It was her certainty. She truly believed I would never leave. That I needed her more than she needed me. She was already slipping. Coming home later. Smelling of him more often. Slurring excuses that didn't even match anymore. The night before it all cracked, she stumbled in after midnight, hair mussed, mascara smudged. I sat at the kitchen table, nursing a glass of whiskey. She froze when she saw me. Wavered slightly on her heels. "You're up," she said, fake casual. "Long day," I answered. She smiled the dead smile. Tried to pivot into some soft lie about losing track of time. I just nodded. Let her stack another lie on the bonfire she was about to burn herself on. Because tomorrow, Madison Taft's carefully curated world was going to collapse. And this time, there would be no one left to save her from herself. The morning after her latest midnight adventure, I woke up before sunrise. Madison was still passed out, tangled in the sheets like a crime scene. I got dressed slowly. Methodically. Dark jeans, a black t-shirt, boots. Practical. Final. By 7 a.m., I was sitting outside Nate's building, a slick, glass and steel monument to every bad decision Madison had made. I didn't go inside. Didn't need to. Instead, I waited for the cleaning staff to leave the service entrance. Watched the security guard light up a cigarette outside. Watched deliveries come and go. At exactly 7:45, a woman in a blue uniform exited, holding a trash bag. I caught the door before it latched. Slipped inside. Moved fast, head down. Nate lived on the 6th floor. I knew that from Madison's Uber receipts. The hallway was empty. Quiet. Apartment 612. I stood outside the door, heart hammering slow and steady. I didn't need a key. Because Madison, in all her arrogance, had once texted Nate a photo of the keypad code. It was still saved in the email logs. I punched it in. The lock clicked open like it was inviting me inside. His apartment was a shrine to self-importance. Sleek leather couches, oversized TV, stupid motivational quotes framed on the walls. And sitting right there on the bathroom counter, bold as hell, was the evidence I didn't even have to dig for. A box of Madison's birth control pills. Same brand. Same prescription number. Half empty. Sitting next to a toothbrush that wasn't his. I didn't touch anything. Didn't need to. I took photos. Close. Clear. Perfect. Her name printed cleanly across the label, next to the pharmacy barcode. Proof. Not just infidelity. Intimacy. Domesticity. She wasn't just sleeping with him, she was living a second life inside this place. I stood there for a full minute, soaking it in. Not anger. Not pain. Just a dead, bottomless calm. By the time I left, the plan was complete. Everything mapped out. At noon, I met Dana, my lawyer, at her office. Handed her the new photos. She smiled, cold and sharp, like a blade sliding from its sheath. "This," she said, tapping the images, "is surgical." The divorce papers were ready. The server was ready. Everything timed. At 5 p.m., Madison would be served at her office, during peak hours, in full view of her co-workers. No warning. No bargaining. No gaslighting. At the same time, my financial accounts would lock. My assets protected. My name scrubbed off anything we shared. By 6 p.m., the locksmith would change the locks on the townhome. By 7 p.m., movers would arrive. Paid in cash, no paper trail, no questions asked. Her clothes. Her jewelry. Everything she ever touched. Packed and dumped into a storage unit registered under her maiden name, the one she'd be forced to start using again. The only thing she would keep was the folder I would leave taped to the inside of the front door. The dossier. Every lie. Every receipt. Every betrayal. A mirror she couldn't smash. That night, Madison breezed through the front door, tossing her purse onto the console table like always. She didn't notice the subtle changes. The missing photos. The faint echo of emptiness in the rooms. "Hey, babe," she called, voice sugary. I stepped out of the kitchen, phone in hand. "Good day?" I asked, casual. She grinned, oblivious. "Busy." "You?" I smiled back. The same smile she had used to lie to me 100 times. "Productive." Then my phone buzzed. A simple text from Dana. "Served." Madison's phone buzzed too. I watched her face drain of color as she pulled it from her purse. Watched her read the subject line. Notice of divorce proceedings, Taft versus Taft. Watched her lips part, confusion snapping into horror. What is this?" she stammered. I tilted my head, studying her the way you study an insect under glass. "You said I was paranoid," I said, voice calm, almost curious. "Turns out I'm just observant." She tried to speak. Tried to step toward me. I held up one hand. "No," I said. Then I turned. Walked past her. Out the door. Didn't look back. I didn't hear from Madison that night. No calls. No texts. No desperate pounding at the door. She knew better. The next morning, I set the final moves in motion. At exactly 8 a.m., the email blast went out, a polite, professional message to our shared circle. Friends, family, co-workers. The kind of people who had sat at our dinner table, toasted our anniversaries, posted pictures of us smiling like nothing could ever shatter. Subject, life update, Mark Taft. Inside, short, clinical, and lethal. Effective immediately, Madison and I are separating due to irreconcilable differences stemming from her long-term affair with Nathan Carter. For those who may have questions, evidence has been provided below. I respectfully ask for privacy as I move forward with my life. Thank you for your understanding. Attached were screenshots. Photos. The birth control box sitting proudly on Nate's bathroom counter. Emails. Receipts. Timestamps. No accusations. No venom. Just the truth, laid out cold and irrefutable. By noon, the fallout began. Calls from her mother, furious and weeping. A text from her brother, "Sorry, man. You deserved better." Co-workers from her law firm started unfollowing her on LinkedIn. Mutual friends dropped her like a lit match. Sabrina, the snake that she was, sent me a single emoji. Madison's perfect little Charleston image was crumbling, and I didn't have to lift another finger. At 3 p.m., the final blow landed. Madison was called into a review meeting at her firm. In front of her partners, her supervisors, her polished peers, a manila folder was dropped on the table. Inside, copies of the affair evidence. A carefully timed anonymous tip had warned them one of their associates was engaging in a pattern of unethical behavior, risking reputational harm to the firm. It didn't matter that it wasn't technically illegal. In Charleston, appearances were everything. She was quietly encouraged to resign to pursue other opportunities. By 5 p.m., Madison Taft was unemployed. That evening, she showed up at the townhome. The key didn't work. I watched her from upstairs, through a narrow slit in the blinds, as she pounded on the door, tears streaking her makeup, voice cracking into hysterics. "Mark. Please talk to me." I said nothing. She eventually noticed the sign taped to the door. A bright orange sticker. Notice, property lockout, court ordered. Underneath, in smaller print, a simple instruction. For personal belongings, contact storage unit number 217, King Street Depot. Her whole life, packed away in cardboard and plastic. No more keys. No more marriage. No more lifelines. Madison sank down on the porch, sobbing into her hands. The streetlights flickered on, casting her broken silhouette in stark relief. And I felt nothing. Not hatred. Not satisfaction. Just the quiet, surgical absence of a disease finally cut out. Madison didn't disappear quietly. Snakes never do. Over the next few days, she launched every tactic in the book: texts, voicemails, even handwritten letters dropped into my mailbox like desperate little bombs. Each one reeked of panic, denial, manufactured sincerity. It was a mistake. It didn't mean anything. We can fix this. Lies wrapped in desperation. I didn't answer a single one. Silence was my blade, and I wielded it with surgical precision. Meanwhile, Nate's world started crumbling too. I made sure of it. An anonymous package arrived at his office, a neat file folder containing copies of the same evidence Madison had helped me gather with her arrogance. Photos. Receipts. Birth control prescriptions registered to another man's apartment. It didn't take long. By the end of the week, Nate's wife, yes, the bastard was married too, filed her own set of divorce papers. His landscaping business lost 3 major contracts. Turns out suburban wives don't want to hire a cheating slimeball to plant their rose gardens. Last I heard, he moved out of his family home, sleeping on a buddy's couch, living off microwaved burritos and self-pity. Good. He deserved worse. One evening, about a week later, I spotted Madison in the parking lot of King Street Depot. She was struggling to shove her things into the trunk of a battered Corolla, not her Lexus, mind you. She must have sold it. Or lost it. She looked small. Ragged. Collapsed into herself like a building condemned but still standing out of habit. I watched from across the street, unnoticed. Her hands shook as she tried to wedge designer luggage and crumpled garment bags into a space too small to fit the life she thought she was entitled to. No audience. No applause. Just the long, slow unwinding of someone who thought betrayal was a game she couldn't lose. She slammed the trunk shut, wiped her eyes, and sat behind the wheel for a long time, head pressed against the steering wheel. I wondered if she was praying. Begging. Or just finally realizing that some choices leave stains you can't ever scrub clean. At home, my life was already different. Quieter. Clearer. Empty in a way that felt strangely full. No more second-guessing. No more staged affection. No more trying to love someone who only ever loved herself. The townhome felt bigger now. It wasn't lonely. It was free. Madison didn't just lose me. She lost the version of herself that only existed because I believed in her. Now, she was just another liar in a town full of them. Another ghost flickering on the edges of someone else's story. And I had no intention of ever looking back. A month later, the divorce was finalized. Clean. Silent. Absolute. No court battles. No drawn-out negotiations. She signed what she was told to sign because she had no other choice. Everything we built, the cars, the furniture, the joint accounts, was already mine. Legally. Strategically. Before she even knew she had lost. All she walked away with was a storage unit full of broken dreams and a last name she could no longer afford to keep. The townhome felt different now. Quiet. Still. The furniture sat a little too neatly. The walls breathed easier without her laughter, that hollow, sharp thing she used like a knife. Sometimes I'd catch the scent of her perfume lingering on the hallway carpet, stubborn and sour. I didn't scrub it out. I let it fade on its own, piece by piece, like everything else about her. I changed my routines. Morning jogs before the sun crested the bay. Late dinners at the small bars she never liked, too blue-collar, she said. Long shifts with the crew where no one asked about the woman whose name used to slip so easily from my mouth. New habits. New patterns. A life with no trace of Madison Taft. I heard through the grapevine that she moved 2 towns over. Working retail. Driving a junker. Dating some washed-up minor league baseball player who still thought batting averages were currency. Perfect. Exactly the kingdom she deserved. Sometimes people ask if I ever loved her. The truth is simple. I loved the version of her that never really existed. The image. The promise. The hollow marble statue that cracked the second real weight was placed on it. I don't hate her. Hate requires energy. She gets nothing now. No rage. No mourning. No memory. She is a ghost moving through a story I've already finished writing. The last time I thought about her, really thought about her, was the day I packed away the last of her junk she left behind. A silver bracelet she used to wear, hidden at the back of a drawer. I held it in my hand for a moment, cold, delicate, meaningless. Then I dropped it into the trash without a second thought. And just like that, the final piece of Madison Taft disappeared from my life. No words. No forgiveness. No funeral. Just silence. The only ending she ever earned.